If a child, 15 years old, who is dying from cancer, can find one positive thing, that's what they did, Dave. At the end of every day, they found one positive, no matter how bad the day was. If he can do that, then we can too. And slowly but surely, when you win the day, every day, 2 months from now, you're finding two things that are positive. A year from now, you might have 10. And 10 years from now, you might have a hard time finding anything negative that came out of your day if you develop the power of a positive mindset.
This is Personal Brand Blueprint with me, your host, Dave Polikoff, where I sit down with proven experts who've built successful personal brands to break down how they did it, so you know the exact blueprint on how to build a personal brand that attracts attention, builds trust, and converts your dream clients online. We get super specific. I'm talking real-time feedback on what social channels to be on, what marketing strategies to implement, and what content is capturing and converting the most attention on social. How do we do this? Because Personal Brand Blueprint is powered by ZenPost, your content partner for research-driven strategy and done-for-you video that helps you be seen, be trusted, and win more business. Whether you need more guidance on how to create client-attracting content yourself, or you need a professional creative team to create and publish your content for you, ZenPost is your strategic content partner. If you're ready to increase your visibility, followers, and leads through video content, then head over to zenpost.com today to learn more. Now, let's get into the show. On our journeys of growing our personal brands, it takes a lot of resilience and the right mindset to be an entrepreneur and to persevere through a lot of the crap that entrepreneurs have to go through. And at times it can feel a little lonely, a little depressing, a little difficult, and maybe the word little is putting it lightly, but that's where having the right mindset comes into play in order for us to get through those difficult times. And that's why today I have on Jason Wolbers, who is the author of The Power of a Positive Mindset. So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me today.
For sure. So I want to kind of tap into this book in terms of the power of a positive mindset. Let's define kind of at the top, when we're talking about a positive mindset, are we talking about like, meditation and, having Zen, or is this more of like being able to look at difficult situations, but still go through those difficult situations with kind of a growth-minded approach to it? Like, how do you define this positive mindset?
Yeah, if I were to have to define a positive mindset in a couple of sentences, it would be simple. It's being able to wake up each morning, no matter what's going on around you. Okay. And there's a lot of layers to it, but a quick definition is no matter what's going on around you, positive or negative, you have a positive armor that you have built up over time that will get you through it. No matter what it is. We've all been through ups and downs. And a positive mindset has taught me not to get too up with the ups, not too down with the downs, and to try to stay not necessarily even keel, okay? But it just helps you to like get in and around and over the brick walls, the hurdles of life. But no, it's
Yeah.
not Zen. I'm not against that type of stuff. That's some of that stuff's in the book. But, that's just a very small part of developing a positive mindset.
I like that you mentioned, kind of staying a bit more even through either the good or bad. One of my favorite expressions is "this too shall pass," and the concept
Yes.
of, whether things are going really well in your business or things are going really poorly, the pendulum will swing back. And I think we
It
all
sure
find that
will.
that happens uh,
We do.
at all stages of our business. Um, Talk me through then, you mentioned keeping that positive mindset through difficult times. Let's kind of go back into your history. What are some experiences, if you're okay with speaking about any, that are maybe some of the difficult times where having that positive mindset helped you get through it?
Well, what's interesting about you bringing that up with regard to the book is while writing the book on Thanksgiving Day of 2022, I lost my older brother all of a sudden to a massive heart attack. He was 48. And that's an easy example for me to use because I was literally in the process, Dave, of writing a book titled The Power of a Positive Mindset. And I had to use my own mindset to get through a tear. And I mean, we're still trying to figure that out. I wake up every day like, wow, I can't believe he's really gone. But the reality is he is gone. And we do have to move along in our lives. Unfortunately, it sounds terrible, but we do. When things like that happen, we have to be able to move on. And the positive armor that I've built up over the years through multiple daily habits, like over and over, just habit stacking, definitely helped me get through it. I still grieve to this day, but that's one key thing that's happened to me. And then two other times in my life, one in my very early 20s and another one in my early 30s, where I suffered from some pretty severe anxiety. And I was in, like, not door to door sales, but that's the easy way for the average person on the just out there that's never done in-home sales before to understand what I'm talking about. We don't knock people's doors and ask if we can come in and show them our product, but we're going into residences and showing product. Well, can you imagine, Dave, being sitting in a home across from a family, talking to them about home safety products and having an anxiety attack while sitting there in their home?
Sure.
Because that's what was happening to me. That kind of stuff was happening to me, and it was real and it was raw. And I had to, it was either go down a real bad path, Dave, or develop a better way to live. And that's why when I really started soul searching and digging deep and trying to figure out, hey, how can I help myself? How can I help myself? I know I can overcome this. And the last thing I'll say on that is when I was 18 years old, a friend of my parents gave me an audio series called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And the strangest secret, Dave, is that we become what we think about. And I'm so thankful, A, that my mom and dad brought me up in church, okay? Because I had faith. I always had faith no matter how bad it got. And it got pretty bad. That anxiety stuff turned into depression for me both times. Well, it got really bad, but I still had faith. And then that series that I listened to when I was young, I always had that ringing in the back of my head like, there's got to be a way. There has to be a way that I can get through this, that I can get through this. And sure enough, there was. And for me, with the anxiety that led to depression, that led to a lot of bad things, right? That was overcome by the way I taught myself to think.
Mm. So I guess that leads me into the next question then, because I know a lot of us, we deal with anxiety for various different reasons. Sometimes we don't even know the
Absolutely.
reason. But being entrepreneurs, being solo founders, being teams of one, being sometimes, you know, you have to be the breadwinner for your family, but you don't have that steady paycheck, and a million
Mm-hmm.
things can have us kind of spiral. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of those tactics or mindsets that we can practice to help us kind of, as you say, kind of stay even keel or get through those difficult times?
Yeah, if your viewers are people of faith, which some will be, some probably not, and that's fine. Everybody has their own different beliefs. But prayer has always worked for me, like just knowing that, hey, I can just stop right now and talk to God. That's always worked well for me. But that's that's just one thing. I've done so many different things for my mindset. One of the things that I do is I made a decision when I wake up, in the very first thing when I wake up in the morning, when my eyes pop open, Dave, I'm going to thank God for something. Like, most of the time I'm like, because I've already lived longer than my brother who passed away now. Okay. So that was one of the big things for me. I was like, wow, when I turned 48, that was a little bit scary for me because I was like, wow, this is the year my brother died of a heart attack. And I take pretty good care of my health. I go to the doctor, I get checked out. But I was like, I got to be able to do things to get through this year. It was a tough year for me this
Sure.
year. And I turned 49 soon, so I'm thankful that I'll be past the 48 mark. But like waking up and just being thankful. Everyone I know that is happy, everyone that I know, Dave, that's happy, is thankful for everything they already have. That doesn't mean they're not going to have a bad day. It doesn't mean they're not going to have a bad month or a year in their business. It means that they wake up happy and they tell themselves, and I tell them that's one of the big things, Dave, is to wake up with gratitude in my heart every single day. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of Kristen Butler, but Kristen Butler wrote a journal, and it's called the 3 Minute Happiness Journal. I use it every day like clockwork because she has, like, I don't know if you ever heard of Hal Elrod, the oh my goodness, I'm losing my train of thought. The Miracle Morning. He wrote the book The
Okay.
Miracle Morning, but at any rate, he has these 6 things he calls the savers in there. And somebody can refer to that book too with trying to find out what I do in the morning. But Kristen took, like, I think it's like 4 of the 6 things are covered. in this little journal, and it takes it. She calls it the 3 minute happiness journal. It literally takes 3 minutes to do in the morning and 3 minutes to do at night. It's little things like that. It's looking yourself in the mirror, Dave, every morning, no matter how good or bad things are going, and saying, "I'm going to have a great day today, and I'm going to do everything I can within my power to make it great." But looking yourself dead in the eye. Michael Jackson did a song called "Man in the Mirror," right? That's huge for me. I have to wake up every single day and I have to face the man in the mirror. And you have to face the man in the mirror, and other viewers have to face the woman in the mirror. And we do. We have to wake up and realize it is up to me. This is my life. I only have one of these. So you have to choose happiness, mindset. It's a choice that you have to make every single day when you wake up.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of the decision that you're making. I think happiness in some cases is a decision just based on, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you feel about what happens to you. So
That's a
to
great point.
yeah, love that. So what are some other instances I think that, we can apply this positive mindset to? I mean, as business owners, we face a lot of ups and downs in our businesses. What are some examples of times where we can kind of take out some of these tools from the toolkit to be able to apply it to our lives, whether that be business or outside of business?
Yeah, I would say just anytime anything negative enters your mind, okay, which how many hundreds, if not thousands of times a day, Dave, do you think that happens to all of us?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very easy to slip into the negative mindset. It's more comfortable there.
Yeah.
If you're trying to grow your personal brand online through organic content, but you're feeling a little lost and frustrated at this whole content strategy and creation thing, then I want to tell you about a free community I've launched called Zen Post Academy. In it, you'll find helpful resources, courses, training, and people to help you understand this whole content creation game. Everything from strategy, ideating topics, creating video, publicizing your content and attracting an audience online, and then even how to convert that audience into leads and followers. So, again, it's a free community. Check out the link in the description below for a link off to the community. Join today, say hello, and I'll see you over there.
Yeah, well, it is, and a lot of times I found just from research and studying and talking to different people, is it is the natural tendency for a lot of us. Now, my wife, I always get on her. I'm like, how do you do it? Like, she has a natural tendency to be positive. And I'm like, I don't get that because I never did. Maybe when I was younger, when everything was all easy, my parents took care of everything. But
Right.
when it
Yeah.
started
We didn't
being
have to
on
deal with
me,
anything.
yeah, I became a little bit of a pessimistic person. So yes, I'm a recovering pessimist. Okay, and that's the thing. Like you asked, in what situations in life? This is my answer to that. Anytime a negative thought enters your mind, that is when the positive mindset and that positive armor will kick in and get you through it. Can I share with you a concept that I talk about in the book quite a few times?
Please do.
All right, I call it changing the channel. It's one of my favorite things to do, even though it means I had a negative thought. Okay, but it's become natural to me now. But uh, nature or nurture. So I say it's natural now, but it's nurture. It wasn't natural to me to change the channel in my mind. So here's the thing, Dave. If you walked into the room and a small child was watching something and they were using the F word, every other word, right, on TV, right? You walk in on that, it's your nephew, your son, your brother, whatever, a little kid. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just a little kid and there's a remote control there. What are you going to do, Dave?
Change the channel.
Heck yeah. You're going to immediately, as fast as possible, turn that over to like a cartoon or something that kid should be watching, right? Well, think about this. In our minds, we do this all the time. We have that show on in our mind. We're watching that show that's negative. We're thinking negative thoughts. We're thinking the kind of things that are not going to be good in our lives. And most of the time, by the way, the thoughts that we have that are negative would probably never even happen if we weren't thinking about them. But we think them right into existence is the problem. So I call it changing the channel. Whenever a negative thought enters your mind, excuse me, not whenever a negative thought enters your mind, whenever you catch it, because you're not going to catch every one of them. It's impossible. You're not going to catch every one of them. But when you're a beginner, it's hard. I can tell you this from experience. It's not easy at first because there's a lot of negative thoughts going through your mind. So don't beat yourself up, but change the channel whenever you catch it. oh my gosh, that's not positive. That's not serving me well. That's not gonna help my day go any better to be thinking this way. Change that channel to anything else that's not negative. It doesn't matter what it is. You could change the channel and think about the dinner you're going to have tonight because you're excited about it because you really like the place you're going or whatever you're planning to cook. It doesn't matter. It can be anything, something simple. Think about your parents if you love your parents. Think about your girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, husband, wife, whatever it might be. Whatever it takes to get you back channeled in on a good channel, watching something that's good for your brain.
Yeah, and I like this note of kind of replacing it with something else. I find that sometimes even the smallest decisions compound over time. Even when it comes to like my diet, for example, if I stick to my diet and I eat healthy, that helps me make better decisions somewhere else in my life throughout the day, right? If I
That's
have
right.
a healthy lunch, I feel good about that, which means it puts me in the mindset of I'm a healthy person, which means I'm going to feel more motivated to go on that run or work out later in the day, which means after I work out later in the day, I'm going to feel motivated to do some other healthy thing. But if I
Mm-hmm.
eat crappy lunch, that's going to make me feel tired and sluggish. So instead of going to the gym, I'm going to take that nap. And, it just everything compounds. I think kind of what you're saying here is in the same way that can happen with your thoughts. Like if you're just thinking negative thoughts, now you are a negative person. And so when that,
Mm-hmm.
if you think negative thoughts, you do negative actions, and that just plays out in life. But if you
Yes,
continue with your positive thoughts, you catch yourself, switch yourself into something positive, then maybe when you bump into someone, you have a more positive interaction with them, and that
that's
compounds
right.
into something else, right? Is that how you think
Yeah,
it
that's
works?
100%. That's 100% what it does. It has a compound effect. Every time you change the channel to something more positive, because you're doing that part intentionally, right? That is in your that is not in your subconscious. The negative thoughts are in your subconscious mind, so don't beat yourself up for having them. Those are just coming into your mind. You're not controlling that. But when you catch it, that's when you get to control it. That's when you take the clicker in your hand and go click and literally change the channel. And it works. It's amazing. I've taught so many people this concept, and it's fun watching them. And even in meetings, sometimes I'll be sitting there looking at somebody, and I'm like, "You're changing that channel right now, aren't you?" I can tell. You can just tell by the way they feel. And something else is when when you have a positive mindset, you put a positive armor on, and you start doing things like changing the channel and understanding the concepts that are in my book. You will be a positive impact on the people around you in your life too. And that's another sidebar, like a byproduct of it, is that you are going to be looked at as a positive person, and people love to be around you.
Is there a degree or a moment or experience where it might be unhealthy to have a positive mindset about that situation? Is there ever times where, obviously we don't want to fall into like a pit of despair and just live
Right.
in there, right? But is there ever a gray area where, okay, in this experience, um, I'm certainly not going to try and just throw myself into this darkness, but at the same time, to just completely shut off the experience and pretend I'm happy about it or whatnot, maybe
Yeah.
isn't the best approach. So, is there ever times where there's a blend of feeling your
Yes.
feeling, but also, having a positive outlook on it?
100%. You have to feel your feeling for sure. You do. Like I used an example of losing my brother when I was writing the book. I mean, I knew I was going to be grieving for years, quite possibly the rest of my life, his loss. But I also knew that I have to allow myself that time to grieve. But I also have to be like, all right, I still have a life to live here. I still have to move forward. And I believe the positive armor, it doesn't prevent the grief. It doesn't. I don't even know if it makes the grief easier. It just makes life easier, when you're kind of in between those moments.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I personally do too. I mean, my father had an incident a couple of years ago that almost took his life. In that moment, we all kind of came together as a family and needed to he had to be rushed to the hospital, and there was a whole situation. And in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I kind of found myself in a moment of like, I could just freeze and not know what to do, or kind of tap into this other version of myself and go, okay, I have to put kind of sidebar the
Hmm.
fear and
Yeah.
sadness feelings
Right.
in order to play a different role that's necessary right now, which is like maybe leader of the family, get people to the hospital, contact who needs it,
Right.
whatever, right? You kind of the tap it. It's like fight or flight, and you're kind of tapping into fight, and
Hmm.
I have to do what I need to
Yeah.
do. So I can completely understand where like negative situations can occur, and you definitely still feel those feelings, but in order to get what needs to be done, sometimes you have to like tap into a different mindset for the time being, at
Yes.
least. Yeah.
I think my philosophy on mindset is an overall thing. Okay, it's not a every second of every day, every hour of every day type thing. I don't believe that we're going to be able to stay positive all the time. That's definitely not what it's about. The way I wrote my book was through 90 days of reading. I want people to read 3 to 5 minutes per day. It's day one, day two, all the way to day 90, and it's kind of a challenge or a journey, if you will, is the way it was written, just so that we could start habit stacking to be able to get through those moments when dad's in an ambulance and dad's being rushed to the hospital and mom's looking at us like, what are we going to do?
Mm.
And you're starting to have that fear, but you still got to feel that fear. You're still going to have those emotions. I just think the best way I could explain the way I look at mindset is if you got to put the armor on. The armor doesn't mean you're not going to get a bullet shot at you. It just means that when the bullet hits, it's going to ricochet off. It's still going to sting. It's still going to hurt, but it's not going to penetrate the skin and stay there and kill you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not going to kill your momentum in life. It's going to slow you down. The bad things are still going to slow you down, but when you have a positive armor and you take the time to do the things that are necessary to keep that, you're going to be. See, this is another thing. I used to try to run through brick walls, Dave, when I was younger. I wanted to run through every brick wall, just go 100 miles an hour, and I got you all bloody. I've learned by developing a positive mindset and just developing a different mindset in my life in general that a brick wall is much easier to get a ladder out, set it up against it, climb up on the ladder. And sure, it's still hard, okay? But it's a lot easier than beating your face up against the wall over and over again. That's what I used to do when I was younger. I used to just try to conquer things by rushing through them and blowing through them. And I just started slowing down. I think that's another little bit of advice I can give you is if you start to feel overwhelmed as a business owner or solopreneur or whatever it might be, slow down. Take an account of where you are right now. Pat yourself on the back. You're doing something that most people won't. Most people fear exactly what you do. At least you don't fear that. At least you were like, you know what? I'm going to get something started. You might not be making any money yet. You might be struggling. But you know what? Mark Cuban, one of the richest men of the world, used to live on other people's couches. I don't know if you've ever heard his story. He used to couch jump because he had nothing. He had nothing, but he kept going. He persevered. There's so many lessons like that in the book. Dyson, the guy that made the vacuum cleaner, that Dyson vacuum cleaner that we all know, he had over 5,000 failed prototypes, Dave. 5,000. He's a billionaire now because he didn't give up. You think that guy was negative? Probably some days, but I'll bet you anything if you got the chance to interview him, he would say, no, I persevered. I wouldn't quit. I was never going to give up until the vacuum cleaner was the way I wanted it to be and until it would work. And there's a lot of stories like that out there.
Speaking of those two great brands, personal brands, Mark Cuban and Dyson,
Yeah,
and kind of
good ones.
amplifying your message with this book, what are some of the ways that you're kind of using your personal brand to attract people to the book?
Well, basically, what I do on a day to day basis is I have pages on Instagram, Facebook. Those are the two that I use the most, but I also do TikTok, things like that,
Nice.
YouTube. And I am trying to put my message out there in 1 to 2 minute increments with short videos, just little bits and pieces of what I believe each day or a couple, 3 times a week. And then I post positive things all the time. My goal is to change the world one mindset at a time. That is literally what I'm trying to do here, okay? One mindset at a time. And I know that that's all I can do. All I can do is help this, if someone picks up my book, all they got to do, they pick up the book They open it to any, you could open this book to any page you choose. It would not matter what page you pick. You can read this book out of order. It doesn't matter how you do it. I just opened it to day 30 and it says think outside the box. So on day 30, I teach a very short message on how thinking outside the box can help you. So what I try to do in my daily messages on social media is I try to take these 90 different things that I write about in this book and just make them micro. One little bitty piece of what might be in this book might be on my social media any given day. Just trying to help people for free
Sure.
with no personal gain in mind. I just want to help people to think the way that I've learned to think.
Yeah. No, I like that approach. I mean, especially because kind of how your content strategy is pretty much already mapped out within the book itself, because it sounds like there's
Mm-hmm.
these kind of like micro lessons within it, and then to like expand upon that
Yep.
in video content, or any other kind of social content is smart. I think for our audience who is thinking, okay, how do I what should I talk about today? I think we all kind of have our own. If you're not an author yet, I think we all kind of have the book we would write already
Right.
kind of identified. Now it's just a matter of kind of explaining those chapters in video.
Yes.
You know,
Somebody once said to me, Dave, a good friend of mine who does some public speaking, he said, he goes, sometimes I run out of material and I just open up your book to a page and just read it and go, oh, yeah, I can talk about that today on my Zoom call with my team. And it's true. I mean, it's literally, I just opened up day 49. See your worth. I write about how you can see your worth each day, day in and day out. That's just the topic of that day. Together, everyone achieves more. I gave a couple speeches on this page to some sporting teams, to a basketball team here in our local area. And I gave a talk to them about teamwork based on what I wrote on that day. So it's micro lessons that if you take them and you put them all together, now I realize nobody's going to probably use all 90 all at once, but you get my point. If you just learn some things from this book, take it and apply it into your life, it can and will make a difference. I've seen a lot of people in my own personal life that are just following along with it and just doing the best they can to develop that habit stacking, that positive habit stacking. I talk about diet, I talk about exercise, I talk about anything you can imagine from A to Z that has anything to do with your physical, mental, or spiritual health to me is important to your mindset. All of it is.
you mentioned a couple other use cases besides creating content. It sounds like you also kind of give some talks based on what's in the book as
Yes,
well.
I do.
How has being an author and writing a book impacted kind of your brand or your business in terms of doors it's opened, or
Yeah.
ways you've been
It's
able to kind of amplify your message?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get in the door when you tell them, "Hey, look," send them a copy of your book and you say, "Listen, this is what I do. This is what I want to talk about, and I want to help your team, your business, your whatever it might be, with any one of these topics." I mean, I literally tell these coaches. I've spoke to a lot of sporting teams in our local area, especially. I told them, well, "What can you talk about?" I said, "I can talk about anything that's in this book. You go through, pick one of the 90 topics. I'll write a speech on it, or I'll take a speech I've already written and give it to your team." And I've had some athletic directors reach out to me and say, "Hey, look, we had something happen on the team. We need this covered. Can you come in?" Last year, I had an athletic director call me on I think it was a Wednesday night, and I was in there Thursday afternoon talking to that team because they had something happen within their organization that they needed some outside help with. And writing the book made it a lot easier for me to open those doors, just to be able to say, "Listen, I've got this right here." And then, all these people that are allowing me to come in and speak, I go in there and I see the book sitting on their desk or on their bookshelf. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. They're doing book clubs, things like that. A lot of people are using it for a book club. That works out great. So I've spoken at a couple book clubs with people, just showed up and or zoomed it, whatever, and shared with them my thoughts at the end of their book club. Things like that have worked out great too. But writing a book, if you feel like you're an expert on anything and you start putting your thoughts together, it definitely will provide, it'll open up doors, open up opportunity for you for sure.
Yeah. Jason, this was awesome. What I like to do at the end of every episode is kind of get one final thought. And I know you've got, a lot of valuable insights in that book, but maybe if you could choose one insight that you think our listeners today specifically could walk away with or should walk away with, what's one core thing that you just want them to make sure you walk away with from this episode?
Perfect. Day 22 in the book. It's titled Win the Day. All right. I'll make this quick. My nephew, Austin Flash Schrader, his nickname was Flash, he passed away in April of 2015 after a year-long battle with cancer. In a child at 15 years old, Dave, he was going through things that you and I would never even want to imagine. Okay, he was in a lot of pain. There was a lot of struggle, but he and his family developed a mantra, and they went along with the win the day mantra. And here's what it meant. So take this away if you're going to take anything. Every single day, you can find one thing good that happened. One, even if it's a bad day. If a child, 15 years old, who is dying from cancer, can find one positive thing, that's what they did, Dave. At the end of every day, they found one positive, no matter how bad the day was. And they did it every day. And he always found one, right? Always found one. If he can do that, then we can too. And slowly but surely, when you win the day, every day, 2 months from now, you're finding two things that are positive. A year from now, you might have 10. And 10 years from now, you might have a hard time finding anything negative that came out of your day if you develop the power of a positive mindset.
Love it. Love that. Jason, so much. Thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Thank you for having me, Dave. It was a good conversation.